Hello there. This is our presentation for managing worry, understanding the impact of stress on children. And this was created by the elementary social workers, so we hope that you get what you need from it. So first, just to name what we hope you get out of it as we go through this presentation, we're going to talk about name and tame. So understanding how these particular stressors, the pandemic, 2020, 2021 all together, impact our children and result in normal stress. We're going to talk about managing stress symptoms. Know what to do in the moment when your child shows distress. Creating the environment. Remembering 4 to 7 tips for how to ensure your home environment is a place that allows your child's natural resilience to thrive. And know where to look. Find more for your help, for help for your child if you feel they need it or if you need it. So the pandemic effect. So the COVID-19 pandemic has had a major effect on all of our lives. Many of us are facing challenges that can be stressful, overwhelming, and cause strong emotions in adults and children. Public health actions such as social distancing are necessary to reduce the spread, but they can make us feel isolated and lonely and can increase stress and anxiety. So this is all new. We have not lived through a pandemic before, many of us. And we're worried about our kids. You're not alone. It can feel overwhelming and disorienting. And there's lots of implications. For example, for physical implications, the death of someone close, the isolation, quarantine, the lack of schedule and routine, less opportunity for exercise and activity, financial implications such as job loss, hours reduction, financial difficulties, and food shortages. Emotional implications, family problems and conflict, increased stress, worry about getting sick or a loved one getting sick. Academic implications, distance learning, that's been a challenge for a lot of folks. Multiple transitions, technical difficulties, the Wi-Fi, adaptive difficulties, schedules, new platforms, and not to mention technology addiction. And the social implications. This is where it also really hits us pretty hard. Seeing family less, travel restrictions, feeling alone, communication difficulties, limited social interactions. As humans, we are made to be in relationship with one another. So the pandemic has really affected that. Also, we've experienced emotionally charged political climate and presidential election, the murder of George Floyd. And since the creation of this presentation, there was another murder of a young black man. The Derek Chauvin trial for the murder of George Floyd. Domestic terrorism and insurrection at the U.S. State Capitol, crisis at the border, and I'm sure we could list many more. So we need to think about how the stress and anxiety can show up and how it affects us. When we think about stress, it's usually an external cause, such as taking a big test or maybe a conflict with a friend. And then when we think about anxiety, that's more of an internal reaction. So it's your reaction to stress. And they affect children and adults. And a lot of times, all those things, if we implement some interventions and strategies, we can have some real success for that. So some of the physical symptoms may include rapid heart rate, quick breathing or difficulty catching one's breath, muscle aches, especially stomach aches and headaches. When we talk to the kids, we talk a lot about, paying attention to the clues in your body. What's your body telling you? And that stomach ache is a big one for a lot of folks. Shaking, dizziness, sweating, fatigue. Emotional symptoms include ongoing worries, a need to be perfect, trouble relaxing. Sleep is really big, a loss of sleep. So those are all things to watch for. How important it is to still have physical activity. So moving your body, to deal with the stress and anxiety that kids are dealing with. I think we talk about it a lot, even with adults, to move your body, get water, exercise, eat healthy. All those things are important for our kiddos too. And finding a way to be creative with having those social relationships. I think we've been using a lot of video lately, and Although it's not the same as being in person, there's still something really powerful about seeing another's face. The routine is really important. So I'm sure you've heard many teachers say, get your child up for online learning, have them dress, have them eat breakfast, and just keeping in that kind of routine is really helpful. And also to have open and clear communication and conversation with your kiddos. Listen and support them. Okay, so what kids or people do when they are stressed. So a lot of it is showing some maladaptive responses, okay? So things like numbing or excessive eating, the video games, I've heard a lot of families really struggling with trying to limit that play on there, and then kind of getting in a battle with your kids from time to time. Staying up too late. A lot of kiddos are staying up late and playing on the video games, and then it's just really hard for them to be focused and ready for their school day. So then that breaks up the routine we talked about earlier. So there needs to be just ongoing and planned interventions, like how do we get back on schedule here. More concerning behaviors are intense outbursts of anger or other big emotions, irritation that prevents one from doing daily activities, watching out for self-harm or hurting family members, especially if children become more aggressive than normal. Their behaviors are really communicating to us that something more is going on, and they don't have the words to talk to us about it. So then that's again where that comes in, to have an open and clear conversation and being ready to listen. And sometimes we have to name for our kids or wonder with them. I wonder if you're feeling really stressed about school, or I wonder if you're worried about grandma being in the hospital. So those are different ways to talk with your kiddos. And restful sleep. Sleep is one of those foundations that everyone needs, sleep and food. And so if we're lacking some of those things, it can also create more behaviors that are not favorable. All right. So the conscious disciplined brain is pictured here. And again, how can I help my child? Behavior gives us a clue on how to respond effectively. Okay, so figure out what they need from you right now. So with this conscious disciplined brain, it helps us to respond, or this model can help us to respond to behaviors in the most useful way. If a child is in their survival mode, they need to know they are safe. If they are in their emotional state, they need to know they are loved. Okay, and then if they're in their executive state, they need to know, what can I learn from this? So as you can see, that's how this brain model is broken down. So just figuring out where they're at and how we can respond in the moment. So survival, again, they're looking for safety. We got to show them they're safe. Talk through it with them. Tell them to look for the helpers if it's in bigger situations. Emotional state is all about connection, showing that love and care. Okay. So co-regulate. Plan and practice how to react to common stress behaviors. So labeling, teaching the use of words to express emotions. Model, show waiting and self-calming strategies. And redirect. So divert your child attention to regulate behavior. And we have to practice using when we're both reasonably regulated. So if myself as a parent, if I'm still pretty frustrated about a situation, it may not be the best time for me to engage with my child and try to help them regulate, because I'm not even regulated yet. So that's the importance of being a co-regulator for your child. You have to be calm too. And it's okay to express like, hey, Mom or Dad, I need a break right now, and we're going to talk about it in a couple minutes. That's also modeling for them. Creating an environment that supports natural resilience. So again, providing that warm, nurturing, supportive relationship, using positive reinforcement when rules are followed. That's kind of like catching them when they're doing a good job. And being clear, so set and maintain clear expectations and limits. I think that's an easy one to fall out of too, where you can just kind of let things slide here or there. Sometimes that can depend on our own mood. So just be aware that that's gonna happen, but at the same time, it does create some confusion for our kids. So we just have to try our best. We can only provide a healthy environment if we have some mastery of self-regulation for ourselves. So what are we practicing to regain our composure, or to be calm, or to, model that for our children? So again, is our mind full, or are we being mindful? So think about, what you do for yourself, or what you could work on to just kind of clear your mind as well. Taking in those deep breaths, being present for your child, wondering where their behaviors are coming from, or what they're showing us, what they may be feeling. If we're struggling, most likely we're going to see it in them too. Some tech tips at home. So again, earlier I mentioned the sleep. Sleep is huge. So this tip here is saying to keep the devices out of the bedrooms to help plan for enough sleep and restful sleep. So not the chance that they could wake up in the middle of the night and say, oh, I'm going to get back on that game. My parents are asleep. They won't know. My grandparents are asleep, or my aunt and uncle, whoever's in the home. So just trying to eliminate some of those things to get in the way of children's sleep. All right, so this is real, right? We've all been dealing with a lot of things this last year. So we can name and tame what is happening so we don't feel so alone or defeated. Okay, it's so stressful. We as the parents can start to use some tools in the moment to manage concerning behaviors related to stress and anxiety. We can slowly build a more fertile environment for mental health in our homes so that kids can harness their natural resilience. That's all about creating the space to listen and support our kids. We can just kind of watch their bodies as we are able to talk with them and understand their feelings and help them calm down. It's almost like a release of stress that they'll have as well. And we can ask for help when we need it. We can manage all together. So here is a list of the social workers at each elementary school. So Chantel Vaughn's at Centennial, we have Karen Slatt at RDLS, and Chrissy Eberly at RSTEM, and Sheridan Hills has Chelsea. And further are some other resources there. Your pediatrician, Hennepin County Child Crisis. That's a line where they can come out to the home if it's a pretty significant issue, but you can also call that line for times when you're struggling with your child's mental health and you need some extra support, you have some questions. They're a great resource in that way as well. Here are some further resources. Again, you can reach out to your school social worker for resources on mental health, but these are some awesome websites that are available. And that pretty much concludes the presentation, but at this time, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you for your time.